3 weeks after our daughter was born, I remember standing in the kitchen at 2 a.m., exhausted, holding a screaming baby while my wife sat at the table pumping, and she said something about me not doing enough with the bottles. I snapped back about being awake too. We stared at each other like strangers. Two people who used to stay up late talking about dreams were now keeping score about who slept less. That moment terrified me more than any diaper blowout, because nobody warned me that the hardest part of having a baby wouldn't be the baby. It would be watching the person I married disappear into someone I barely recognized, while I became someone she resented. I'm Dan, and I've been exactly where you are. If this video helps, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. If you're watching this pregnant or newly postpartum, you've probably noticed something's off. Maybe you're arguing about things that never mattered before. Maybe intimacy feels like a distant memory. Maybe you're wondering when you became roommates managing a tiny human instead of partners who actually like each other. This video tells you what nobody else will. Exactly how your relationship will change, why it happens, what the timeline actually looks like, and how to survive it without destroying what you built. Not the sanitized version, the real one. Your relationship will get worse before it gets better, and knowing that isn't pessimistic. It's the permission you need to stop panicking when it happens and start doing the work that actually helps. Point 1. Physical intimacy will disappear for months, and that's medical, not personal. Sex stops being a thing for 4 to 6 months minimum. Not because attraction died, because her body is healing from trauma and her hormones are in survival mode. You need to hear the actual timeline. 6 weeks minimum before medical clearance, and that's just the baseline. Often 3 to 6 months before she feels remotely like herself. Sometimes longer if breastfeeding kills her libido, which it does for a lot of women. Her body just went through something catastrophic. She's healing from stitches or a surgical incision. She's bleeding for weeks. Her hormones are telling her body to keep a baby alive, not to feel desire. And if she's breastfeeding, she's being touched constantly. All day, every day. She's touched out. Here's what happens. You interpret the lack of intimacy as rejection. You start feeling like she doesn't want you anymore. You internalize it. You get resentful. She picks up on that energy, which makes her feel pressured, which makes her retreat further. The spiral begins. I did this. I made it about me when it had nothing to do with me. I thought something was broken between us when actually her body was just doing exactly what bodies do after childbirth. Stop initiating and expecting. I know that's hard. Start asking what physical connection looks like for her right now. Maybe it's hand-holding. Maybe it's sitting close on the couch. Maybe it's nothing, and that needs to be okay for a while. Acknowledge this is temporary but real. Find other ways to feel connected that don't require her body. This drought doesn't mean your relationship is dying. It means she's recovering from growing and birthing a human, and her biology is focused on survival, not intimacy. That's normal, that's expected, that's medical, not personal. Point 2. You'll become scorekeepers instead of teammates. The mental load of baby care is invisible, so you'll both feel like you're doing more than the other person. This creates a resentment spiral that kills goodwill faster than anything else. She tracks every wake-up. You track every diaper change. Both of you feel underappreciated. Both of you stop saying thank you. Both of you retreat into bitterness. I remember keeping a mental tally. I changed 8 diapers today. I held the baby for 3 hours. I did the dishes. Look at everything I'm doing. And she was doing the same thing, except her list included all the invisible work I couldn't see. I was tracking the next pediatrician appointment, worrying about whether baby's eating enough, managing the entire ecosystem of baby logistics in her head while I patted myself on the back for visible tasks. Here's the scenario. Sunday afternoon. You've been holding the baby for 2 hours while she naps. You mention being tired. She explodes. You get breaks. She hasn't showered in 3 days. You get defensive because you were literally just helping. She gets angrier because you called it helping, like baby care is her job that you're assisting with. The fight spirals. Nobody wins. Stop defending your contributions. Start asking, what can I take off your plate today? Have the explicit conversation about division of labor before resentment calcifies into something permanent. Acknowledge she's doing invisible work you can't always see. Use a shared task app if you need to. But more than anything, say thank you for things that feel basic. Thank her for feeding the baby at 3 a.m. Thank her for managing the logistics. Model gratitude even when you're exhausted. Scorekeeping destroys partnerships because it makes you adversaries instead of allies. You're on the same team, even when it doesn't feel like it. Point 3. You stop being partners and become mom and dad first. Your identities merge into parental roles, and the romantic partnership gets shelved indefinitely. Survival mode only has room for functional co-parenting. Every conversation becomes about feeding schedules and sleep regressions. You coordinate logistics instead of connecting emotionally. Your teammates executing a project instead of people who chose each other. I watched my wife become mom. Not in a beautiful way. In a way where I forgot she was still the person I fell in love with. We texted about nap times. We discussed wake windows and ounces consumed. We stopped asking how the other person felt about anything that wasn't baby-related. I realized one day I hadn't used her actual name in weeks. It was just Mom. Hey, Mom, did she eat? Mom, where are the wipes? She did the same thing to me. We became our roles instead of our people. The grief of that is real. You're losing yourselves temporarily, and neither of you acknowledges it, so you drift into parallel lives. This is normal. This is temporary. But you have to actively protect the partnership underneath the parenting. 5 minutes of non-baby conversation per day. Ask her how she feels, not just about the baby, but about herself. Use each other's names, not mom and dad. Remember, you were people before this. You had dreams and inside jokes and conversations that mattered beyond feeding schedules. Those people still exist under the survival mode. You just have to remind each other they're still there. Point 4. Date nights become rare, expensive, and exhausting. The just get a babysitter and reconnect advice is useless. Finding childcare is logistically impossible. Leaving the baby feels anxiety-inducing for her, and you're both too exhausted to enjoy it anyway. I tried to do the right thing. Booked a babysitter, made a reservation. Thought we'd have this beautiful reconnection moment. We spent the entire dinner talking about the baby. She was anxious about her pumping schedule. I was too tired to think of anything interesting to say. We both pretended we were having fun, but it felt forced and depressing. We came home early, relieved to just go to sleep. Date nights in the first 6 months often fail. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. Lower your expectations dramatically. Date night might be takeout after the baby's asleep. It might be a walk around the block together. It might be sitting on the couch for 20 minutes without phones, just existing in the same space. Connection doesn't require the old template. The pressure to have perfect date nights that magically fix everything makes it worse. Start small. Build back slowly. Let it be awkward. Let it be about proximity instead of performance. Point 5. One person will always feel like they're doing more, because you probably are. In most partnerships, the mother carries the disproportionate burden of baby care, especially if she's breastfeeding. Pretending it's equal creates toxic resentment. Here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. She's doing more. Her body is still recovering. She's feeding a human from her body every 2 hours. She's touched out and depleted in ways you can't fully understand. You cannot match her load, and you shouldn't try to pretend you can. I used to say I'm tired too when she complained about exhaustion. That was true. I was tired. But it wasn't proportional, and claiming equivalence made her feel invisible. You need to acknowledge the imbalance explicitly. She has it harder right now. That's not diminishing your experience. That's just honest. Take ownership of specific domains entirely. Bottles, laundry, the bedtime routine. Whatever you can fully own so she doesn't have to think about it. Don't ask what needs doing. Observe and do it. Notice when trash is full. Notice when bottle parts need washing. Notice when she hasn't eaten today. Act without being asked, and acknowledge her harder road explicitly and often. I see how much you're carrying. I know this is heavier for you. Thank you. Those words matter more than you realize. Point 6. The connection will come back, but only if you protect it now. Relationships don't automatically recover after the newborn phase. They recover when you make deliberate choices to prevent permanent damage during the hardest months. This is investment, not failure. Small actions matter more than grand gestures. Thank her, even for things that feel like baseline parenting. Apologize fast when you snap. Choose curiosity over defensiveness when she's angry. Protect 10 minutes of non-baby conversation whenever you can. Initiate non-sexual physical touch. A hug, a hand on her shoulder, a kiss on her forehead when she's holding the baby. Say I miss you instead of we never have sex anymore. That shift in language changes everything. The relationship muscle atrophies if you don't use it. 6 months of neglect becomes 6 years, but here's the vision. Around 6 to 9 months, something shifts. Baby sleeps longer. Routines settle. You look at each other one morning and remember why you chose this person. You'll have inside jokes about the survival phase. You'll feel like teammates who won a war together. You'll recognize each other again, but that only happens if you don't burn the bridge during the battle. You're building toward that future version right now, even when it feels impossible. Point 7. Your job is to absorb stress, not create it. The most valuable thing you can do is reduce her burden and create space for her to recover. That means managing your own needs quietly and showing up consistently. You're the shock absorber. She's been hit by a physical and hormonal tsunami. Your feelings are valid. Your exhaustion is real. But your job right now is to carry what you can so she doesn't have to. I learned to stop complaining about being tired when she was clearly more depleted. Not because my feelings didn't matter, but because the timing was wrong. She didn't have capacity to hold my overwhelm on top of her own. Find your own support system. Friends who are dads, a therapist, other guys who get it. Process your overwhelm somewhere safe so you're not dumping it on her. Be the stable one. Later, when she's more recovered, when baby sleeps, when her body is healed, you can ask for what you need. You can have conversations about your feelings. You can expect emotional support again. Right now, the math isn't equal, and that's okay. This is temporary. This is the phase where you show up as the partner she needs, not the partner you wish you could be. Nobody warns you that the hardest part of having a baby won't be the baby. It'll be navigating the transformation of your relationship while you're both running on empty. You'll become people you don't recognize for a while. You'll say things you regret. You'll feel distant and resentful and scared. And all of that is normal. The relationship will get worse before it gets better. But it does get better. You'll find each other again. You'll remember why you started this journey together. You'll become a stronger team because you survived the hardest phase without destroying what you built. Protect the connection now, even when it feels impossible. Your future selves are counting on it.